If you can dream it, you can do it. Walt Disney said that. Yeah, but Walt Disney never went to dental school, did he? Walt Disney's income has not decreased by 20% in the last decade. Walt Disney isn't facing decreasing reimbursement from insurance companies and patients having to come out of pocket more for their cost of care. So Walt Disney didn't face the same stresses that you guys face as dental business owners. So I want you to think about your journey from when you first thought about going into dental practice to where you are today, and reflect on your journey as I share mine. It was the fall of 1980. The world was before me. My dream was about to really begin. I was going to be an Olympic volleyball player. I decided on Olympic volleyball player versus professional volleyball player because there really weren't pro volleyball players, so the Olympics would be good enough, right? So I showed up for tryouts and I tried really hard. And the next morning I show up for school and I go and I look at the list. My name's not on there. Surely this is a mistake. At the age of 12, I thought my world was over. I walked down the hall into my 7th grade science class taught by a teacher we all called Coach Karen. And she looked at me and she could see the tears in my eyes and she said, "What's going on?" I said, I was going to be an Olympic volleyball player. I didn't even make the team. What am I going to do with my life? She said, "Well, why don't you come out for track? Everybody makes the team. It'll be fun." I'm like, "Don't you run in track?" Yes. But I did. I really liked her, so I did. And the next year, I tried out for volleyball again. And this time, you know what I did? I tried harder. And the next day, I come and I look to see if my name is on the list. It wasn't on there again. So I repeated the same cycle. The next year, I tried out and I tried harder, even harder. My name still wasn't on that list. So I made what I call a destiny decision. I probably was not going to make the Olympic team. And I thought, I'll come up with a new dream. Coach Karen's pretty cool. I'll be a teacher and a coach. So I'm plugging along. I'm pretty happy, enjoying school, enjoying sports. And then the next year, volleyball tryouts come up. And I thought, oh, no. I'm not trying out this year, right? I figured this out. Coach Karen comes up to me and she says, "Are you going to try out for volleyball?" I'm like, "You're so funny. Love your sense of humor." No. She said, "No, really, I'm coaching. And you work hard. I know you're behind in your skill level, but you've got heart and dedication, and I want you on my team." So I played for her, had a lot of fun, made the varsity team the next 2 years, played 1 year in college, still knew I needed to stick with the teacher and the coach route. So I began my thoughts on my college education, and I had a wonderful father. But he was also very firm, and I picked a school, and he said, "That's a great school." I said, "I'm going to be a teacher and a coach." And he said, "I'm not paying for you to go to that school for you to be a teacher and a coach." So again, I made another destiny decision. Take out school loans or have my college education paid for. So I picked business management. Like, how hard can that be? Like, that sounded easy. Yeah. So I wound up with a job with a little company called Walmart. You probably heard of it. In IT and then in retail, and then wound up back in Memphis with my business degree and a little bit of business experience. And I'm at church and I bump into Coach Karen, whose husband happens to be a dentist, Dr. David. And he says, "Hey, I would love to have lunch." I'm like, "Woo, lunch. I'm buying." A grown-up older than me offering to buy me lunch. I'm all in, right? And so we met and he said, "I want you to come and manage my practice." And I thought, there's a joke, right? A hidden camera. Like, I don't know anything about running a dental practice, which most of you are probably thinking, neither did we when we got out of dental school, right? But I took the job because I thought, wow, no nights, no weekends, no stress. Woo! So I get to my job in the dental practice and I'm like, okay, here's the computer. Where's the book that tells us how to run this place? And he just kind of looks at me and I said, "Well, surely you have books." And we go and he opens this cabinet in his office and he pulls out this big red textbook. And all I can remember were some of the pictures in there reminded me of why I didn't go to dental school, right? I was a little squeamish. But there was no book on how to do this. So I began to learn, and really a light bulb came on for me when one day we sat down. I'm sure Microsoft Excel existed back then, but I really had never seen much of it. He had a big green ledger pad, and it showed every year that the business was growing, but his income really wasn't growing that much. And I thought, hey, I've got a business degree. I'm pretty good at math. I was like, this isn't right. You know, we're winning. The business seems to be winning, but all this work that you've put in, that you've worked so hard, this education, the amount of debt you have, the little kids that you have at home, we've got to do something different. So guess what? He and I made up some plans and we tried harder. But nothing really happened because we didn't have the right strategies. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book on growing your dental business. And one of the inspirations I had, there's actually a formula in here for you to be able to grow your practice by 25%, doing things that will cost you very little. But that's not really the message of today. The magic happened for us because we sought outside sources and we got the team on board. It wasn't just he and I, and we also had better strategies. And so when clients will approach me and say, well, what's more important, knowing what to do or having the team to support me? I'm like, you know what? You can have the best strategies in the world, but you can't do this yourself. You have to have the team to support you. So if I can share with you 3 steps for you to get your team on board, and let's call this the FAB approach, all right? The first is the F, focus. You have to be able to share a clear picture with your team of what it is that you want to have happen. Now that doesn't mean that you look at them and you say, okay, now pay attention, right? They're thinking, what do you want me to pay attention to? This takes time, and it's not just the chair time that you have with the patients. So one of the best examples is, what does an ideal day look like in your practice? How much time do you need with those specific patients? Because what tends to happen is when you're not busy, you know what they do. You know what happens, you doctors, you're right up behind the administrative team member and you're looking and you're like, well, did you call such and such? Well, you know we have an opening later today at 2. Are we gonna be able to fill that? Because in your mind, you're thinking, I've got to be able to pay the bills, right? Give them a clear picture, set aside time and share with them what it is that you really want. So that's focus. The A in FAB is appreciation. Now I want you to think about this. When is the last time someone told you, you know, things are going pretty good, I'm making a good living at work, you know, the kids are doing good, but I'm telling you, I've been getting so much appreciation lately. I just really don't need any more. You know, I'm kind of good on that. You know, and as business owners, you know what I'm talking about, especially dentists. I mean, people come to us and most of the time they have that feeling almost like you have when you're about to get on a roller coaster. It's like, well, I'm not really sure I want to ride this. I don't know if I want to be here. So they come to us, they're already anxious. But with the appreciation factor, as dental business owners, we don't get much of that. But you've heard the saying that in order to receive something, you have to give something. And I'm not saying that the next time your assistant comes in, you're like, you smell pretty good today, you know, right? I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a compliment, but give them sincere appreciation, give them evidence, and also do that in front of your patients. Nothing shares a message of teamwork better than others being able to hear you give a compliment. And what's amazing is when doctors show appreciation to the team members, the next thing you know, the team says, hey, thank you for getting us pizza last week when we had our meeting. It's a two-way street. And also you will hear your team members showing appreciation to the patients. We always love seeing you. You're so much fun. Oh, we were so excited when we saw you on our schedule because you bring us food. We love food. So the B in FAB might be the core of the whole message, and that is belief. If you were to think about, and this is the example that I give, because every day we come into the office, we do our best to be ready for patients, and in some ways I say it's like we're going into battle. You know, you want to know that your team has got your 6. You know, if you've got somebody behind you and they don't really believe in you, it ought to make you a little bit nervous, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change the team. Maybe first you need to let them know what it is that you believe in. And most importantly, you need to let them know that you believe in them. even when they're brand new, even when they make mistakes, because they will, right? It happens as we learn. But you need to remind them, you know what? I know that you're learning. Let's go back to that clear picture about what we want to have happen and focus. But I know that you can do this, and I'm glad you're on my team. Here's what happens when that belief gets in place. It begins to spread throughout the practice. You know, when we think about, how do we grow our practice? Marketing is communication at its essence, and your patients can feel it. And it begins with the patients usually when we answer the telephone. If your team believes in you, when your team picks up that phone for you, they are you on the phone, right? Because you can't be everywhere. You want that enthusiasm to come across on the phone. And it will begin to happen that they will tell your prospective patients, oh, you're going to love it here. You know, I'm so glad you're bringing your kids in. Our doctor is so awesome with kids. You're going to love our team of hygienists, because you want your team to be different than those other offices, right? Most medical offices, I'm wondering if they get their phone training from the IRS or something like, I mean, it's depressing. So you want them to set themselves apart. Also, even though we have belief, sometimes we need reminders. So I want you to pretend, if you have your phone, you can grab it, or you can pretend that you have something in your hand, right? We can still pretend, even though we're grown-ups. And I'm going to make the sound of the phone ringing, okay? When we may say there's no business like show business, I say there's no business like smile business. And we're in the business of making people smile. We need to be smiling, okay? So here's what I want you to do. This is something that you can put into practice with your team. They will be so impressed that you taught them this. Okay, the phone rings, and then I want you to do what I'm going to do. Ring. Okay, and when you put the phone down, all right, ring. Okay, y'all are really good. Okay, one more time. Ring. Okay, same thing happens if you have a chime on the door. Somebody comes in the door, what happens? Because people can't really tell you what your beliefs are unless you take the time to tell them. But a smiling person, even, and I understand that, guys, sometimes you don't feel like smiling, right? You're thinking about all of your school loans and other things that you may have going on. But the magic begins to happen when you get your team on board, when you begin to look at that frustration. So maybe your dream might be a little fuzzier than what you would like. But I never will forget the day in thinking back to getting the team on board. I was so inspired by what we learned with that consulting group that I actually told my dentist, I want to replace myself in your practice. I promise I won't leave you high and dry, but this stuff is amazing. I'm going to go out and share all of these things that I've learned, that we've learned with other offices. And so he was good with that. But the day, my last day in the office, it's a day I'll never forget. I thought I'd be excited, and I kept watching the clock ticking, and I didn't know whether to be excited or sad, you know. And so I remember the last patient left. I was balancing everything out, and Dr. David came to the front. And he said, you know, I thought that maybe one day this day might come, and I want you to know that it's been awesome having you on my team. You've treated this business like it was yours. And I'm happy for you, even though it breaks my heart to see you go, because you were born to do this. You were born to coach. And in that moment, all of those decisions that I made that might have veered me away from my goal and my path, all of the pieces came together. So my message for you is, I know there are hard times and hardships. When you went to dental school, you thought, hey, I'll treat patients, we'll take great care of people, I'll make a great living. And then you might not have really thought about that you would have this team of people that you needed to manage and take care of. So you can have that dream. You can get back on that path. And my message for you would be, think about, how can I get my team on board? What message can I share? Maybe I need a mentor. Maybe I need to pick up the phone. Maybe this is a message that I need to share with my team. But it's possible. If you can dream it, you can do it, And I believe that the best is yet to come for all of you. Thank you.